So mutable season has arrived. The sun has ingressed into Virgo as of a few hours ago. Mars is in Gemini. We're going to have a new moon in Virgo very soon. And this video, I'm going to talk about just mutable activation, the mutable madness, you might call it, and how we can work with this mutable energy, both in the immediate term and maybe over the next period. So stay tuned. Let's dive in. Let's talk about mutable signs. All right. Welcome to the channel. My name is S.J. Anderson. Thanks for being here. I want to talk in this video about, like I said, mutable energies or mutable signs. And in astrology, for those of you who may not know this, there's 12 signs of the zodiac, and they're broken down into 3 what we call modes. And a mode is like a mode of being, right? A mode, the fan has a mode or a setting where you can put it in this mode or that mode. It's a way of functioning, you might think about it. And so 4 of the signs are cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. 4 of the signs are fixed signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And then 4 of the signs, this is what I'm going to talk about today, are mutable signs. And those are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And the reason why the mutable signs are now very important is because in the transiting sky, Mars has entered Gemini. It will be there, remember, for 7 months still. We still have over 7 months of Mars in Gemini as I record. So Mars is there so long, it means there's a kind of mutable season, a mutable activation that is at the forefront of our astrology. And then this week we'll have a Virgo New Moon here in about 5 days. Saturday it hits. We'll have a new moon in mutable signs, so we need to be thinking about them in the very short term as well. And that new moon will square exactly Mars in Gemini, so it's sort of a kickoff of this mutable activation, which is going to hang around for a long time. And then the one other point I'll make now: Jupiter re-enters Pisces in late October, and that is the mutable Jupiter. And so you'll have Jupiter and Mars both in these mutable signs. You know, and another example specifically about this fall's peak mutability once Jupiter is back into Pisces. So look at the new moon in Sagittarius, the first syzygy after eclipse season. You have 24 November, Sun, Moon clearly in Sagittarius, but you have Venus in Sagittarius, you have Mercury in Sagittarius, all opposing Mars, and then squaring Jupiter and Pisces. So this becomes a 6th traditional planet mutable sign activation here in November, where it will become even more desirable to lead with an adaptive and a flexible mode of functioning in our lives right out of eclipse season. Maybe lives get turned upside down, and now we're having to really ride waves of mutability here to finish the year, getting into Christmas, getting into January, February, March 2023, where everything changes. And so this is a mutable fall and a heavy mutable moment. So let's just jump in here. Let's start out. I want to start with Stephen Arroyo again. I love this one paragraph from his chart interpretation handbook. It really essentializes these modes, the modalities and what they mean in a beautiful, beautiful way. One sentence for each. And he says the mutable signs are correlated with flexibility and constant change, and may be perceived as sporadic patterns of energy. So it's the changing sporadic patterns of energy. Remember, the mutable signs are ruled by Mercury, Gemini and Virgo, as the major ruler, the domicile ruler, and then Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces. And so these are Mercurial and Jupiterian signs, the mutable signs. Both of those planets can signify these changes that come with our mentality, right? The language, Mercury, the analysis that can change how we think, and Jupiter, the more spiritual changes that can come from higher downloads of spiritual knowledge, these kind of Jupiterian turns. So we're dealing with the zone of life of shifts and morphing and shifting through reality as we change who we are and what we believe and what we think. This fall, 2022's last half, you may think about the morphing you might be doing around your belief systems, your ideas, and even through the strategies of Mars, right? Mars and Gemini, the conversations, even the debates we may be having can change how we think and who we are. We'll be shifting, I think. And Dr. Hand, when he talks about mutability, he says, exactly as their name implies, the mutable signs are involved with change, transformation, and adaptation. I like that word adaptation, the morphology, right, of change. They symbolize the flexibility needed to allow structures to survive amid changing realities. Again, flexibility. Arroyo used that term. Wonderful hat to put on for this fall. Put your flexibility hat on as you go into these coming months. And so we can bring this even into eclipse season. Eclipses are periods of change, but these coming eclipses, mutable Mars plays a highly significant role in these eclipses. So the 25 October solar eclipse in Scorpio, the ruling planet of the eclipse by domicile is Mars in Gemini. And then if you go to the second eclipse, the lunar eclipse on the 8th of November, so you have a mutable final dispositor with Jupiter in Pisces, and then you get Mars and Mercury in this exchange of signs. And so Mars in Gemini again has a lot of significance vis-a-vis domicile rulership in both of those eclipses. So this is part of the nature of change of fall 2022. It's a mutable period. Flexibility, like Arroyo and Hand point out. And you can see this graphic here with Mars in Gemini. I love the tarot. The symbolism of the tarot sometimes can be quite useful when we think about astrological delineation. I really love this one. The Tower is the card that Mars corresponds to in tarot correspondence systems, many of them. And then the Lovers corresponds to Gemini. You look at the Tarot of Marseille, the Lovers card, there's disputes over relationships, right? Love, and we woo with our language when we're in love. We convince people that we want them. We debate the agreements of a relationship through words and through even marriage, where it's a mercurial language that binds people. And then you have the Tower, the changes that can come with Mars grinding away in Gemini. So, we might reformulate how we think, who we are communicating with, how we think about who we're communicating with, how we think about ourselves in relationship. That's what I would focus on more here. We can control ourselves, right? How are we behaving? What are we saying, thinking, writing, speaking, acting in the context of how we engage with others? Really set for this transformation period, but the flexibility, I think we need to be flexible. I'm thinking a lot about social media and debates and controversy, especially during an election season. How might one handle engaging in controversial ideas with other people? I think there's a real art to that, being kind, being polite, and then being honest and truthful. These can serve us as we maybe head into a period where there will be some engagement. And I think centering love, right? In my opinion, all people deserve love, even if their ideas maybe differ from mine. And so I think this is how we can dance in a kind and useful, functional way with Mars and Gemini. And so now I just want to shift the video a little bit to talk about just this week. This week is uniquely just a challenging week. I want to just throw that out there. We had that big shift out of the fixed activation. But this week there's some lingering activations. In particular, you have the moon here coming into Leo on the 24th. That is tomorrow. That will be Wednesday, 9 in the morning. Actually, in this chart, I've pulled up 9 in the morning in Eastern Daylight Time. I was looking at this earlier for Eastern Daylight Time. So in the afternoon here in Central Europe, the moon enters Leo. The moon will have to oppose Saturn. So we get another of that fixed activation. And the moon will then join the north bending, so square the lunar nodes. That peaks, actually, on Friday at 8, 9 in the morning in Central Europe. So Thursday evening into Friday, we're going to have the moon applying to oppose Saturn. Not the easiest of energies. Now, we do have Venus and Leo to maybe sweeten the pie here a little bit. And so you get the moon in a hard aspect with Saturn upon its entry into Leo on Wednesday. The thing is, when the moon comes into Virgo, the evening on Friday, on the 26th of August, right there about 8:30 here in Central Europe, the moon then now has to engage Mars in a hard aspect. The first hard aspect with the moon and Mars that's applying and that perfects since Mars entered Gemini. So out of the gate, like I said, we're going to be confronted with mutable change, but angular hard aspects with the luminaries in the mutable axis. So it's sort of a welcome to the mutable madness. I think that's what I'm going to title this video. Quickly, I just want to touch base and talk a little bit about this Virgo new moon. And the way I want to do it is I want to talk about Vedi's Phalans when he discusses the moon and the sun. What are the significations of the moon and the sun? Well, the moon becomes the ruler of foresight, according to Vedi's Phalans. This is the Riley translation. The sun becomes the ruler of light. So you can see we shine a light in our minds, and then we can maybe see out clearly into the world and maybe understand things that could be happening when you deal with sun and moon together. When those are in that hard square aspect with Mars, Mars is the ruler of action and effort. It's almost like we're pushed out of the vision component of the solar lunar rebirth that comes at a new moon, and maybe that moment of light envisioning. Mars in that square means we might be dislodged a little bit and forced into active stances that aren't as supportive of the kind of restful vision or meditative space that you might otherwise think of a solar-lunar joining and maybe a new moon ceremony. And of course you see it here when you bring the chart up. You have right here partile. You'll have the new moon 4 degrees 3 degree minutes, Mars 4 degrees 0 degree minutes, about as tight as you can get with an aspect. Now it is separating, but it is quite tight. And I do believe this new moon has the potential to jostle, to kind of get us turned over a little bit, shaken around and shaken up. That flexibility of Arroyo in hand will come into play here. It will be a great tactic or tool to deploy and have at the forefront as we head into this weekend. We might need to do things we didn't think about, right? Gemini is thought. We might need to deploy objects that we weren't aware of or that can be useful. That's Virgo, right? The physical things around us, maybe the smaller items that we haven't been aware of. We might be forced into relying on things we didn't plan on relying on. Use your flexibility this week. You may need it. And I'm just going to finish the video and talk about one transit, give you an idea of some upcoming transits you can get excited about or think about using. The next one I'm really interested in would be this. So this is that Libra moon, 30 August 2022, Wednesday, about a week, just over a week from where we sit now. That Tuesday-Wednesday period, and I'm interested particularly in Wednesday early in the morning here. You get the Cancer rising, Jupiter right with the midheaven. The moon will be separating from its trine with Saturn and then applying to Venus. So this is a nice waxing moon pocket to very much look forward to. This is one of the baskets of pre-Mercury retrograde, lovely waxing moons that we can include. Now Mercury will be stationing retrograde 10 days from this moment, so about 10 September, 9 September. Just that whole Libra moon will be a nice waxing moment to get engaged, get into the world, talk about what we want, talk about relationships, use our Libra, deploy our diplomacy, and engage with others as we're settling into a Mars mutable season and this period that requires flexibility, adaptation, and change. So hang on this week, get through this new moon, square Mars, and then enjoy this next waxing phase